Satsang, yogis and yoginis, hello, welcome back one more time to another live streaming. Let's explore a different concept today. I had a question in the comments of the video the other day that somebody was Latika was asking me about how about the projection of the voice. I mentioned the projection of the voice from different chakras, and she was asking me if I could go deeper into that. So why not? Let's cover that today. Let's talk about the projection of the voice. Well, there's a few things. Projection of the voice would be about how we are, getting our voice out into the world. There's one thing. Before talking about how the voice goes out into the world, let's talk about how it goes inside within us. Now, I explore a lot about this when in the mantra course, how different sounds vibrate in the body in different ways. And, I was exploring pa pa ba ba ma, being the sound of the father and the mother, pa pa ba ba mama, and they vibrate in the belly. So this is the kind of things that some sounds are going to be very, very easily located. Some sounds are going to affect a number of places at the same time. So we can find the S from Satnam, for example. The S is going to be a sound that affects the legs because of the sibilant sounds. Sirsha, Saha, Sirsha, Sa particularly are vibrating in the legs. But also the Sa is going to be resonating in the heart, and probably the S, there has a point where it's also stimulating the third eye. So different sounds, some sounds will have different areas of effect. That's how when we produce the sound that is going to be touching us in different parts of the body. That's how the sound affects us. But how do we produce the sound out? In the mantra course, I do a little bit of explanation on how to project the sound of the mantras regularly. When we are chanting mantras, there's a particular way that we want to project the sound. So let me just review that. One of the most important aspects for any mantra chanting, but not only, for our voice in general, is our navel. Having a strong navel is fundamental to having a good projection and a good impact with your voice. If your navel is weak, no matter how nice and beautiful is your heart, no matter how loving are your words, how devotional you are within, if your navel is weak, this is like having the most beautiful of the CDs of mantra music and not having the CD player to listen to that. The navel is what gives the power to the voice to come out. If you have very weak navel, the words are just going to stay here and it's just not going to come through. So it's difficult to have an impact. So yes, we do want to speak through the heart, but the navel has to be very important. And actually, in the projection of mantra chanting, you will want a very engaged navel. You want an engaged navel in all postures of yoga, for example, when we are doing the asanas. You want a strong navel when you are speaking to somebody. You want a strong navel when you are breathing, because it's a fundamental aspect of breathing. And actually, you will see how breathing and chanting, they have many things in common. And it's not a coincidence. It's because in order to speak, we need to breathe out. Yeah, our voice, our words happen when we are exhaling. We are not speaking like that. We are not speaking like that, inhaling. We are speaking, exhaling, getting the air out. Therefore, the same mechanism that is going to make the exhalation, utilizing the force of your breath, creating the right pressure in the air to make your vocal folds vibrate and the sound to come out, that same pressure with the navel is for breathing, as for speaking, as for chanting. So the navel is very important. Also, the position of the head is very important. This is something that is taught often in when you are learning how to sing even classical music. Opera singers, you are taught how to put the position of your head. You are taught about the navel inside, the position of the belly. Also, what's happening with the diaphragm, super important, and with your ribs, your rib cage. All that is very important. Particularly with the navel active, what happens is that if your head is projected forward in some extension like this is going to be obstructing the passage of air where the air gas has to go through to come out through your mouth and your nose. So by obstructing the passage of air, you're also impeding the vibration of sound. Therefore, for appropriate chanting, be it classical music or any kind of singing, really, you would need the right position of the chin, which is actually what we call Jalandhara Bandha, is actually the position of the throat. It's actually creating the right space in your throat for the air to flow. So when you see opera singers, they don't do oh, they do oh. So oh, that has a much greater projection. I don't want to shout into the microphone right now. I don't want to leave you deaf. But the position of the chin is very important. Therefore, that creates the alignment. I made a video on the Jalandhara Bandha already with the bandhas and how that creates the right alignment. So that alignment is very important. And so the navel is strong. The chin is in that position so that, more than the chin, we should think about the crown elevated. That's the idea. And then when we are chanting mantras, we would project the sound through the back of the spine, making it go up. And you want the sound to go all the way up to the crown and then descend upon your nose and your third eye and project the sound 60 degrees forward, sort of like that. That's the idea, that you are projecting the sound in that way. And you are creating a resonance in these cavities. So we have the nasal, the mouth, and the whole skull is like a chamber that can resonate. There is a lot of talk in learning how to sing about how to project the voice, and some people are masters of that. You can hear some singers, and there was one that was coming to me. Who is that? What's the name of that jazz singer? The one, I'll Do It My Way. Oh my goodness, I forgot his name now. Frank Sinatra. Okay, my goodness. Frank Sinatra. He would have an incredible capacity to project. I think they call it the mask. Yeah, for them, no, to project into the mask, is meaning that vibration here in this area. Now, when we are chanting mantras, you may hear sometimes the voices of mantra people who sang mantras, no? they are quite nosy. There is a lot of nose vibration. So, Om Bhurбhuva Svah Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. So you may hear a lot of noise in the nose, nose noise, which means that you are utilizing the space of the nasal resonance, no? To the maximum, and you are creating a big vibration here. And this is recommended in the sense that if you get your voice just to come out through your mouth, if I'm speaking just through my mouth, I don't know how clear that communicates through this media with a microphone. I don't know if you can perceive it. But if I just speak through my mouth, what I'm doing now is I'm just getting my voice from my navel out directly through the mouth. And it just doesn't have the depth, it doesn't have the body and the fullness that you can have if it goes higher. If I let my voice go higher first and then come down into the nose, it has a deeper, more volume, more full sound, let's say. It's difficult to find adjectives because this is more about the perception and the experience of that. But so in the mantra chanting, we would do this, play around with the resonance in the different chambers, and you can play around with that and find your own signature, right? Your own, no, I wouldn't say a style, but your own timbre, yeah, your own vibration, yeah, on how you want to sound, how you want this to communicate. But in any case, if you want this vibration of the mantras to be most effective, you want them to vibrate in the crown, in the skull. I was thinking cranium, yeah? because in the skull is the brain, and the brain, through that vibration, is when we enter into these states of consciousness and very meditative states. So I'm just talking about general projection of voice, particularly when we are chanting mantras. I would say that this navel active, chin active is any good. This is good for any kind of musical singing even, and even for speaking, just for regularly speaking. And is bringing the sound to the crown is going to create this elevation and then this projection. So I would recommend this position and this feeling, this projection of sound in any way, in any case, yeah, for any kind of sound producing, be it singing, chanting, speaking, all of that. So that's the idea. You are projecting the sound up and then forward. Just 1 second, let's hydrate ourselves. Let me make a point of that with a very typical mantra that we chant in Kundalini Yoga. We chant Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And when we are chanting the Ong, there is one thing, that Ong is fully nasal sound, completely nasal. It's not a little bit nasal, is not mostly mouth and a little bit nasal. No, it's fully nasal sound. What this means is that even though the mouth is open, and we want it open because the mouth is also a chamber, is going to be resonating, and you want the tongue to be loose within the mouth so it can vibrate. When you are doing the Ong, the air does not come out through the mouth. So you are bringing the tongue back. So imagine this is the throat, yeah, and this is the tongue. So the tongue comes back and closes the space so that all the air goes through the nasal passage. Now there is a very easy way to learn how to do this, and it's just a test. Well, if the air is coming out through the nose and I close the nose, the air will stop coming out and therefore the sound will stop. So if I am speaking through the mouth and I close the nose, you will notice that the sound continues and there is not much difference because I'm just speaking through the mouth. Right now I was speaking through the mouth. But if I'm speaking through the nose and I'm making the sound Ong, oh, that's a mouth sound. But if I'm making nasal, so if you can use your fingers and you can try. If you close your nose and you're making the full nasal sound, the sound should stop. So by moving the tongue back and closing the mouth completely, you are making all the air go up, yeah, from the throat up to the nasal passage, and the air is coming out through the nose. So that's a full nasalization of the sound, let's say. You still want the vibration to come up and down to your third eye, but the air itself, the air is coming out through the nose. So when we're chanting Om Namo Gurudev Namo, we can do that. And you can test that. But don't do this. Don't stop the sound. You don't stop the sound to close the nose. Don't try to stop it. Just keep chanting and just close the nose. And therefore, that way you can test whether you are nasalizing the sound or not. So chanting Om Namo would be that way. And it would be a very long Ong. In the Om Namo Gurudev Namo, we want the Om Namo and Gurudev Namo the same. Om Namo, same distance. Gurudev Namo, the same distance. And we would ideally want to do all this in one breath. Because, if you run out of air and you take after Namo, you can take a very short sip of breath. But the ideal is to do it in one breath. And why is that? And why do we do it so long? The idea is that we need to start increasing our breath capacity, because that's going to bring more oxygen into our bodies. It's going to bring more oxygen into the blood. With the oxygen enters the prana, so our tissues are going to be more saturated with prana, and we're just going to feel better. So why wouldn't we want more prana in ourselves? So you want more prana, why why not train yourself to gather more oxygen? And so why not expand your lungs, right? And with a good expansion of your lungs, you're going to have more capacity to breathe and to exhale and therefore to chant. But that also depends on a number of things. Your capacity to hold a note is going to depend on a number of things. But let us do this test for a moment. Let's see if we can do a long ong, a long ong, Namo Gurudev Namo. And I'm gonna use a very long version, and you check whether you can chant with me or not. It may be a little bit challenging, but we will see. Maybe I will not do it fully long. Let's try that though. I generally join my hands to do this, because it's like a prayer. It's like calling for ong, calling for the ong namo, and Gurudev, calling for the Guru. Yeah, so let's do that. We inhale deep and exhale. And inhale deep. And fully exhale. That means fully empty. Empty yourself. Inhale to chant. Adgurennamam, Jagadgurennamam, Sadgurennamam, Siddhigurudevennamam, Adgurennamam, Jagadgurennamam, Sadgurennamam, Siddhigurudevennamam, Adgurennamam, Jagadgurennamam, Sadgurennamam, Siddhigurudevennamam. I do. The second was a mantra of protection. It's hard for me to do Om Namo and not do the second one. They go hand in hand. If you have chanted this and you found it difficult to hold the sound for so long, it can be a number of things. One could be simply your lung capacity. It can be just very small, short, for whatever reason. But typical reasons would be having smoked in your life, that reduces your lung capacity a lot, being asthmatic, or having asthma or allergies, very strong allergies, that could be a good reason for that. Also, having suffered from some particular disease which affects the lungs. I was thinking COVID, I didn't want to say it, but when I passed COVID the first time, I remember for months it was difficult to breathe deeply, so I wouldn't breathe as deep, and therefore I would have less lung capacity. So one of the reasons for not being able to hold a sound for a long time, it could be simply a matter of not having enough air in the lungs. But it's not the only reason. One other reason could be simply that you are not putting enough pressure behind the air. Now, for the pressure behind the air, there's a number of mechanisms. There's a number of actual diaphragms. There is one in the bottom of our body, actually in the perineum. There is one diaphragm right there, which is also engaged when we are chanting. And there should be an engagement from down below, even from the area where we do mula bandha, yeah? From the perineum, between the sphincter and the sexual organs. So that's the first diaphragm that gets activated. The second one is the one that we generally call the diaphragm, the one below in the solar plexus, yeah, in the solar plexus below the lungs. So if that diaphragm doesn't press enough, the air doesn't have pressure. If the air doesn't have pressure, it's like deflating, like a balloon. And then you inhale very deep. And then you're losing all your air, no? And you're losing all your air. So it could be just simply a lack of pressure from the diaphragm, but it can also be something else. It can be the aperture of your vocal folds. It's not really vocal cords, it's a vocal folds. It's not really like a string. It's more like a flap. And those flaps, they close, and when there is enough pressure of air, they open to let the air out, and then they close. And then the air accumulates, they open and they close. Open and close. And they do this, but so quickly that what is coming out, the air that is coming out, comes in a vibration. Open, close, open, close, open, close. So you can imagine like this. I'm doing it very, very, very slow, what generally happens, but very, very quick. And that creates this vibration, and vibration is sound. Sound is nothing else but vibration, yeah? Is a vibration in the particles in the air coming out from you. Oh, that's just a vibration. But where is that vibration coming from? Well, it comes from here, opening and closing. However, if the vocal folds are too open, instead of having a little bit of air coming and coming through the gap, there is a lot of air coming through the gap. And then when a lot of air comes through the gap, then you deflate yourself very quickly, like a balloon. Oh. And there's people who speak like that. People that when they talk, they are using a lot of air. So they need to breathe much more. You see that they have to inhale much more than others. Now, why is there so much breath? Why is there so much air? This is very ineffective, yeah? Very suboptimal. So it's important to regulate how much air are you letting through, that it's the necessary one to produce that sound, but not so much that you are losing air in the chanting. You may want to emphasize a particular sound, you may want to make it stronger, and therefore you may project a little bit more of air, but opening more the throat does not necessarily mean that the sound is going to be stronger. Even the word stronger is a bit confusing, because getting your voice to project is not about volume, it's about projection. And volume and projection is not the same. You can try to scream, and you can scream very low or scream very high in terms of how far you get with that. And the loudness and the projection is not the same. So when we are speaking, one rule of thumb that we utilize when we are teaching in like trainers, we're training teachers to be teachers, yeah? And how to use their voice. We tell them that when they project their voice, they should try to speak for the person who is the farthest from you. This is a little good trick in general. When we are speaking and there is a group of people that we want to talk to, find who is the one that is farthest from you and try to get your voice to that person. And that can be like with the projection of your intention, putting the navel strong and projecting the voice there. But you can also take into account that you have a wall behind. If you are with a wall behind, you can also vibrate the voice back towards the wall. That's a little bit anti-intuitive, but when you vibrate the voice towards the wall is going to bounce the sound, is going to make it project forward. So this is particularly useful when you have a big class and one room and the wall goes all the way to the other side of the room, and you want to get to the other side of the room to talk, you can project your voice in that way, but you can also just project towards the wall, and if there is the right size, if the room is the right architecture, it's going to project the sound. And I say architecture because the shape of the room is going to change a lot. If it's round or square, or it has like a roof, what kind of roof does it have? That's going to affect a lot. I remember as a child being in a room. Where was that? I think it was Alhambra. I don't know if you guys and girls know the Alhambra. The Alhambra is one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's a beautiful, absolutely exquisite architecture from the Moors that is in the south of Spain, because Spain was conquered by the Moors for, oh my goodness, now I'm going to get into trouble with my history. Was it 4 centuries? Maybe. I had very few classes of history when I was little, but I think it was something like 4 centuries that the Moors invaded Spain, and there for a while the south of Spain was all Moorish. So there's a lot of architecture, particularly in the most southern part of Spain. Andalusia is very, very Moorish. And there's this building, Alhambra. And I remember in Alhambra, actually many words which start with al in Spanish, they come from the Moors. So they have a root which is Muslim, and probably if we spoke Arabic, we could find that these words come from there. So there was this room that had a roof, and the ceiling, not the roof, the ceiling of the room, it was a little bit like that, a little concave, and there was like columns. And you could get close to one column and speak into the column like this, and speaking softly in the column, and another person in the other side of the room, if you are listening to the column, you can listen what the other one is saying. And I remember doing this experiment with my mother, and she would be in one side of the room and I was on the other, and we were like 15 meters away or something like that, and she was speaking very softly, and I was like, I don't hear her, I don't know. She's saying, listen. And then I heard her. It was such a soft voice coming from, of course, I was doing like this, but I was waiting to hear her voice over there because I was seeing her there. What I didn't expect is the voice coming from the actual column of the wall. So this is what happens with the chamber, with a chamber. The resonance goes all throughout. And that happens in your chambers, in your mouth, in your skull, and that happens in a room. So when we are speaking in a room, it's a good idea to resonate into the walls, to speak into the walls as well, because that's going to vibrate and bring the vibration to the other side, to the other walls of the room. And for the people who are farthest from you, they're going to feel your voice without actually being very strong and loud. Hello, Wandering Trader. Welcome. I just saw your message. I don't know if it was a long time that you wrote, but I just saw you. Sorry. So, hello and welcome here. And we are talking about voice projection, voice vibration, air, and how to speak. And I'm going to go into how to speak from different chakras in a minute. But I'm warming up to that. There is a little bit more things that we need to cover. Feel free to just write here if you want to ask any question of what we are talking about, or any question whatsoever, and I will bring it into the conversation. So thank you. Good to see you around. So this is about the chamber and how to vibrate the voice and how to utilize the site of a room. This is something very relevant also if you enjoy music and you go to music concerts. Finding the sweet spot of the theater where you're going to listen to the music is not always the first row. Many people love the first row seats, and the first row seats are generally more expensive because you see things from up close. And if that's a theater, I can understand that if you're watching theater. But if you're going to listen to a music concert, that's probably not the best spot to be in. I mean, they don't tell everyone because they want to sell more money with the first row seats. But I was a musician for many years when I was a young kid, and I did hundreds of concerts with the bands or philharmonic bands. So it was like a big band, like 100 people, over 100 musicians, and we would go to many concerts, and we got to know which is the best spot in the particular theater from my town in Mallorca. The Teatro Principal de Mallorca, we knew exactly where to sit. And it was actually on the first level, not on the ground level, but the first level, in the first seats of the first level, that the shape of the room was creating the perfect resonance for that position. And you could hear the music in the most balanced way. Being in the center of the room, in that center spot, that was really, really powerful. So I recommend, if you are a music lover, that you pay attention when you go to a concert of where do you want to sit, and it's not the same in any part of the theater or amphitheater or whatever you are in. So that's a little comment, a sidelines comment. So chambers are important, and that would be the projection. So having the right projection is not about volume, it's not about screaming. You don't want to shout, but you want to get to the other one. So you see the person that is farthest from you and you try to get your voice over there. So you are projecting your voice over there, thinking also from behind you. So that's creating that projection. All right. Now, another thing that can happen when you're making a sound, I was talking a little bit ago about making one sound and running out of air, like Satnam, and you run out of air. It could also be by the way you pronounce that sound. So some people find that when they are doing Om Namo, they can hold for a long time. Om Namo. They feel like they could go on forever. But then when they go to the Guru De, when they reach to the they lose all the air. And what could happen is that you haven't really, if you never train your voice, we can speak, we all learn how to speak, but we didn't learn to speak like the most perfect, precise, optimum way. And I remember I went to a logopedian. I wanted to learn how to speak better, but that teacher didn't teach how to speak. He only taught how to sing, but it was useful. And we were practicing, and I realized that my vowel, I was losing so much air. So it was happening to me. That's why I'm sharing it. So when I would be chanting Om Namo, I could go off for a long time, but then Guru De, I would lose so much air in the air. And that's because I was opening the vocal folds too much. So constricting this area and being more clear of the Jalandhara Bandha helped me to hold it. Now I can hold as much as you can also hear the harmonics behind, yeah? Because the chambers are more resonating. So by doing this, you can extend the sound much more. So I recommend that you experiment with the vowels first of all, because the vowels is where you hold one sound for long, and explore if you can hold as much with one or another, and it's a good experience to go to a logopedian or a voice coach to learn how to utilize your voice better. So that's on the part of speaking and different aspects of projection for the mantra chanting as well. But this is all general. Now I want to say something more specific. I'm going to go specifically about not where does the vibration touching me, but where do I get the vibration out from? And that's a little bit less clear, that's less obvious, and it requires your intention, your particular intention. So when I make any sound like papa, baba, mama, that sound is going to vibrate, in this case, papa, baba, mama, is going to vibrate in my belly. If I do ta, 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 it's going to vibrate up here. If I do ch, it's going to go higher, and k is going to go higher. But that is how the sounds are affecting my body. You can choose to speak from your throat or from your heart or from your belly or from any chakra that you want. And that's actually going to have an impact on the other. So what chakra do you speak from is going to change the impact on how the other one is going to receive it. And this is something good for everyone to explore and experiment. I can give a few details on how are the qualities of these chakras, and everyone, you can all explore by yourself and try it in different conversations. This is one of the things about yoga. Yoga is not a practice that you do at home alone a few minutes or hours in the morning, and then you go out and you're in the street and you forget about yoga. Yoga is something that you bring into your day-to-day living. So because we spend so much time with our voice, speaking and listening, why not bring some of the yogic concepts and ideas into our day-to-day? So this is what I'm going to talk about now. This is something that you can practice while you are in the shop, in the supermarket, or when you are in your job, talking to your colleague or talking to your boss, and apply this. Particularly now that I say about the boss, and because I talked about the projection and the volume, maybe I should mention also about the pitch. And the pitch is not necessarily linked to where do you project the voice from, but there is generally a tendency to go higher and project from a higher place in yourself when you go higher in your pitch. So pitch is how high or high low do you sing, like oh, this is the pitch, right? So one thing that you will notice is that when we are more submissive to somebody else, when we are considering that somebody else has higher status than you or higher power than you, we tend, as animals that we are, our animal nature, we tend to make our voice go higher. So by increasing the pitch of the voice, we are giving our power away. So you will notice that maybe you speak in a regular range of your voice is in a regular range. You can even identify that musically with which notes are you most comfortable in. And then your mother enters you and says, "Yeah, Mom, how are you doing? How is it going, Mom? What's happening? So tell me, what did you do the other day? Wait, why am I speaking? Why am I speaking up there?" Right? Why am I? Okay, Mom. Yeah, so I don't know if tomorrow I can come. Can I come Tuesday? Tomorrow is kind of bad, but maybe next week. Why am I speaking like this? Why am I not speaking like that? Right? Do you notice? So as soon as I'm speaking about my mother, I'm speaking to my mother, my voice goes higher, because we were little children when we were born, and she was our source of everything, nutrition and take care of us and protecting us. So we tend to, when we relate to our parents, this is a very clear difference of power, and we tend to go our voice higher. Also because we were children, and children have higher voices. So we go into our children mode. But we do that also with our bosses. When a boss comes and we are like, all right, yeah, okay, I don't know. Yeah, I did it. I did the work that you asked me. Why not? Yeah, I did it. I did the work that you asked me. You notice the feeling, how different it is? So just speaking like this, or speaking like this, changing the pitch of the voice is going to be a way of gathering your own power, empowering yourself, or giving the power away. And it's not yet about which chakra am I chanting from or am I speaking from, but it has a lot of connection. There is a way to speak from one chakra or another without changing the pitch, but just the pitch is already very important. So it's very good to explore, even with a piano, even if you don't play piano, or find a piano, or find, you can emulate the piano with the phone, and just find the notes in which your voice, my voice, what's this regular note? This is the regular pitch where my voice operates. And get used to that and listen to that. Maybe even do like this. You can hold your ear and bring this part of the hand close to your mouth, and you're speaking. When you're speaking like this, the voice will go into your mouth, it will go into your ear, you will hear yourself much better. Singers often do this when they want to make sure they are on pitch. So you are doing this and get that voice. Now, identify it and be very conscious of it. Now, when you are in front of some other person, pay attention if you are going higher with your voice. Because if you're going higher, you are giving away your power in a way. If you want to hold your power, keep the voice like this. If you need to exert even higher power, you can even go lower. And I can lower my voice and go a little bit deeper. This is deeper than generally I speak, but then I may want to make a specific point and I may want to go into this range. And people will listen. This is very subconscious. But communication is largely subconscious. The content of our words is just a little part of what communication is. The voice tone is a big part of that. And then comes body language. That's another topic for maybe another day. But the voice is transmitting, is communicating a lot of things subconsciously that the other person, unless they have trained on this, they're going to pick it up, they're going to react to that without consciously knowing. So by you lowering the voice, you are saying, you know what? I empower myself. I value my voice. I value my words. I think what I'm saying is important and I'm going to say it. So you are giving value to yourself, and it's less possible that, less likely that somebody's going to interrupt you. If you're speaking, it's a group of people and you tend to find yourself interrupted, do this. Whatever tone you're doing, lower the tone. Okay. And go slower, more consciously, more determined. Yeah. By lowering the voice and going slower, you are saying, look, what I say is important and I'm going to say it. So please listen to that. Yeah. It's not about imposing yourself. It's not about, using your power to crush the others. But it's about valuing yourself and valuing your own voice. My voice has value, and I need to be conscious of that and gather my own power. I'm not gonna just let it go. I'm gonna say what I need to say. If I need to say something, if I don't, I'm just gonna stay silent. But if I want to say something, I'm gonna say it. If I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna project it. I'm not gonna go halfway and leave it in the middle. Okay, so that's about voice and pitch and the power that you put into the voice. Now, after you utilize the voice and you utilize the right frequency, then comes the projection. Where do you project from? And just like the higher pitch or the lower pitch, as the higher that we go, we're losing power, also happens kind of, not exactly, but kind of with the chakras. There is one way to communicate. Some people are very superficial. And when they are communicating very superficial things, they will be up here. And they will be talking about we're talking, oh, how is the weather today? Okay, so, yeah, did you see it's raining again? Oh my God, it's raining. Oh, the whole week has been raining. And I'm not going particularly very high in the pitch, but the conversation is all happening up here. It's not going very deep. And when you go up here, this is the reign of the mind. So people who are very much into their heads, they tend to go higher with their voice and they're speaking on this level. This is a conversation that is in tune with their mind, and generally the mind speaks very fast. You may end up with a headache if you try to do this for too long, yeah? But some people are like this. When you are with them for a little while, you end up with a headache because you hear them, and it's generally like a drone that doesn't stop. It's like, and going up here. So a technique that you can use from a yogic perspective, if you want that person to calm down and to slow down and to probably listen, then the very words calm down, telling you that the words has to go down. But how can you make the other person calm down? Well, you cannot just go yourself into your heart and hope that they go into their heart. It's much more effective if you first go up, match the level where they are, and start speaking like that. Okay, so you're telling me that. You remember that? That reminds me. You know what the other day happened? The other day happened that I was going through there, and as I'm speaking, I'm starting to go down in my voice. And you know what happened? And I told that thing to that person, and after I said that, I'm starting to slow down, and that person replied that thing, and you know what? That had such an impact on me, and so as I'm speaking, I start speaking at the rhythm and at the level that the other person is in. I match the level. I create some sympathy. I create resonating sympathy, a harmony. And then I start to lower myself. And as I'm lowering myself, it's going to lower the other person and it's going to let them come down to their heart. And look, this is a service to them, because spending all day in the head, this is not healthy. So letting them come down into the heart, this is where we breathe. This is where our lungs is. It gives them an opportunity to breathe in, slow down, and listen, and maybe have a different conversation. So if you are trying to have a conversation with somebody who is just not listening, in their head, total full-on head, go there, match the point, and slowly lower the rhythm, lower maybe even the pitch, and lower the projection. So the rhythm is slower, the tone may go from higher to a bit lower, and then you are projecting from a lower chakra. And by doing this, through resonance, you have a capacity to bring the other one down. You see, we have incredible circuits in the brain that are totally designed to copy the other. This was from when we were babies. We need to learn. We cannot be fully born and fully functional in the world. If you see a little deer when it's born, it can already walk, and in a few minutes he can run. Babies, human babies, we take so long to develop. We are born prematurely. All babies are born prematurely. We need a lot of time for the brain to develop. But because we need so much time to develop, and the brain is so designed to learn very high intellectual capacities, how are we going to learn those capacities? Well, from people around us. How are we going to do that? By copying them. So the brain has a big part of the brain has a structure that is designed to copy the other person. So when they are listening to you and you are bringing your pitch down and bringing your breath slower and all that, that's helping them through this part of the brain that copies you. They are going to start copying your breath and copying your signature, and it's going to slow them down, and now we can have a proper conversation. When they are too much in the head, it's very difficult. So Karina says, wow, amazing, I need this so much, thank you. I have a shirt that says, I'm not yelling, I'm Brazilian. My 1,000 days meditation is for radiance and easy, because that's what I'm focusing on. Nice, 1,000 days. So for those who are not Kundalini yogis, why sometimes we talk about 1,000 days? Because when we do 40 days, one thing is like breaking a habit, and we need 90 days to reestablish a new habit. And we say that when we do something, 120 is part of my identity, is becoming me, but 1,000 days is the time that we require to master something, to be the master of something. So doing 1,000 days of radiance and easy, so that's 1,000 days of becoming light and being more easygoing. Yeah, I'm not yelling. I'm Brazilian. That's nice. I think the Brazilian spirit is so close to the Mediterranean. I feel much closer to Brazilian attitude than the Portuguese one. Actually, I live in Portugal and I see many Brazilian people, but there's much more heat in the Brazilian blood, which is something that we have more in the Mediterranean. I think because Portugal is touching the Atlantic, it's a little bit colder in their blood. And I remember I did a trip with my friends from Scotland, because I lived in Scotland for a number of years, and they came to visit me in Barcelona. We went together and we were visiting Barcelona, and there was two things that happened that my friend from Scotland was noticing. Stuart, my friend, he was noticing. He was like, they are gonna hit each other. He thought like they're gonna fight. He was like, and I'm like, no, they're just playing. They were playing domino, and they were putting the pieces like ba 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 ba, boom ba ba ba, and they were like screaming at each other, putting the pieces down. And he thought they were gonna start fighting in any moment now. They're gonna fight, and I'm like, no, they're just playing dominoes. It's just normal. Don't worry. This is just the heat in our blood, because in particularly in the coast of Spain, where we are in contact with the water, warm water from Mediterranean Sea, we have a much more heated blood. And you can see that in Italy, and you can see that in Greece as well, much warmer than the northern countries like Sweden. So he was from Scotland, and he was noticing that. And the other thing he was noticing is that there were two people having a conversation. I noticed he was just listening like that. And I'm like, so why are you listening? And he's like, it's incredible. He says, they're speaking at the same time. And I never realized before, but it's true. One person was speaking, and then when they stopped speaking is this, but the other person was like this, and they were like overlapping. So one person is still talking one person is still talking when the other one started to talk, and there was a time when they were speaking at the same time, and the other one is continuing, and then the other one starts when the other one was still speaking. So there's a big overlap, and there was a conversation that was happening at the same time, which is incredible. I think that's partly why I can listen to something and I can speak at the same time, which makes me a good translator. I sometimes interpreting for my teacher. So I'm listening to him and I can translate at the same time in Spanish. I think it's because, we create this capacity to listen and speak at the same time. But this is not recommended. Another thing that I notice right now, I'm speaking very fast. I'm talking about Spain and I start to accelerate. This is my Spanish blood is kicking in. So, and maybe as my Spanish blood is kicking in, I'm probably going higher as well. So let's come down into the heart. And as we're coming down, we are slowing down the breath as well and the rhythm of the conversation. So Karina said, exactly, but I don't want people to think I'm fighting when I'm talking. Yeah, I think it's all right. People understand we are different cultures. And it's, it's so, the difference is so radical. I remember teaching for the first time in Estonia. And I've taught now quite a few times in Estonia, and I really enjoy teaching there. I'm going to be teaching there very soon, I think, as well. But anyway, the first 2 or 3 days, I thought they were not getting what I was saying, because there was no reaction in them. There was no heat in their blood. And there was like, I would make a joke and they would not react. And I was like, maybe they didn't understand that. So that's actually very common, no? When we are speaking with somebody from a different culture, is people are really different, yeah, and our blood can tell a lot about how we communicate that. Yeah, don't worry. I don't think they're gonna think you're fighting when you're talking, but it's a good reminder for us. Me myself, as a Spanish person, I constantly have to remind myself to slow down. It's not easy because it's in your blood. You've been doing it all your life. And to me, even now that I'm doing these YouTube videos, I want to translate the videos. All the videos in my channel are translated to 5 languages. and that's a lot of work for me. But it's less work if I speak slower, because then the AI understands me better. When I speak too fast, then it starts to have some errors. And also my accent is quite strong. So I recognize my accent is quite strong. But yeah, so slowing down is better for the communication. And it's also gives you the capacity to breathe more. So you're coming down more into the heart, which is healthy anyway. You're not so much in the head. It's easier to react when you're in the head. When you come down into the heart, you are less reactive. And so you can listen to the other and then respond. Yeah, excellent. So, so one technique is this, to pick up where the other one is and lower your voice and make it come down into yourself, so that the other one has also an opportunity to come down from their head, not to have a headache later, and to come more into their heart. So that's an opportunity to do that. But there is other elements as well. It's not just about being superficial or being very deep. It's not just that. It kind of happens like that. This is what I have observed. The more higher you are, generally more superficial you are, less relevant conversations you are having. And the deeper you go into you, the deeper you are connecting with yourself as you are communicating. That's something that is definitely happening. But there is something else also, and it's the chakras. So let's talk now about, this was all a warm-up. It's been over an hour now, but this was a warm-up to talking about chakra communication. And this is a topic that we explore in the level 2 from Kundalini Yoga, as taught by Yogi Bhajan. We talk in the level 2 that is called conscious communication. There are 5 level 2s, and everyone has a different topic. In the one of conscious communication, we talk about which chakra are we talking from. So let's go into that. Since I'm talking a lot about voice today as well, let me just say this. When you feel like a little bit of you want to do this sound, this is not very healthy to do. It's better to drink some water. Better for the health of your throat. If you're going to be speaking a lot, if you're a teacher or you're a communicator, or for whatever reason you need to speak a lot, then take care of your voice. So chakra communication, we say in general we want to speak through the heart, right? We want our heart to be in the middle of our communication, because that's what's, the heart has the highest qualities, love and devotion and sensitive. The heart is sensitive. The heart has this capacity for compassion and sensitivity. What else? Our silence is in the heart. So connecting to the heart is very important. However, as I mentioned before, it's not to speak from the heart. Because if you speak from the heart, then it doesn't have much power. The power comes from below. So we need to engage the navel. So in any conversation, we would say, engage the navel and speak from the navel and through the heart. But this is not even complete, because we can actually project the voice from many different places at once. We can actually speak through the heart and from the third eye. And that's going to change the communication. If I speak through the third eye, it's going to change. It's different than if I speak through the throat. So let's go into that. Let's explore the different communications. And in the level 2 manual that talks about the different places where you can communicate from, it has a very good description, and maybe we can talk about that, and I can share it and I can show it. But I think it's also a little bit limited. It's not complete. And I'll tell you why I feel it's not complete. Let me just share the screen. I haven't done this today yet. Here it is. So this is the level 2 manual, and it says characteristics of chakra communication. This is an old version of the manual. This may have changed. I'm not sure. But yeah. So for example, it would say, let's say the 5th chakra is to be blunt, direct as is. So create through truth. I have a quote, a little addition. It's a life or death thing. So, okay, the 5th chakra is blunt. Okay, the 4th chakra uplifts, give compassion, mutuality, and be adored, healing. You'll be compassionate and logical and will speak the smallest truth. All right, let's go down. 3rd chakra balances someone, willful, be unknown for all plus and minus. When you say something, it will either have a terrible sting or a terrible praise with it. So you see, this is more complete. Now, why do I say this is more complete? Because this description is going to be talking about the 2 aspects, the karma and the dharma. And I think that's my universal understanding of everything. When we talk about anything in life, it always has the 2 sides. When we talk about something purely like something good and something bad, yeah, that's our projection and that's our interpretation from the mind. Whatever we do, whatever practice we are doing, it generally has the 2 sides, the dharmic and the karmic. So it's healthy that when you are approaching any kind of teaching from yoga, that we have the attitude of asking for the other side of the coin. I always try to find both sides of the coin. So if we are talking about communication from the 5th chakra or from the 3rd chakra, we would have to ask ourselves, what's the kind of karmic communication from the 3rd chakra? What's the kind of dharmic communication from the 3rd chakra? And I would apply that to all the chakras. But so let's do this slowly then. Let's go into the different chakras slowly and try to find both aspects. I'm gonna improvise. I haven't done this before, but I think this is something important and we could do that. So what's the 7th chakra? Is wholeness, distinct, uniqueness, cosmic, sacred self, vastness, humble. You see God in them and even more than you. Reverse vacuum. You'll have knowledge of what the other person understands and you'll speak so that they are able to understand you. Do you see how this is really like the dharmic side? It's very elevated description of the 7th chakra. And yes, that's the highest qualities of this chakra. Yeah, the 7th chakra is your spiritual connection. So when you're speaking in the highest form of the 7th chakra in communication with the other, you are relating from this spiritual side of yourself, this elevated side of yourself towards the other. So you are contacting to the other on the level of this sacred self. And you have knowledge of what the other person understands because you are connecting to the other from a subtle body perspective, not so much from what I see or what I hear, but more like a spiritual connection to the other, if I may understand, if I may say it like that. So the dharmic aspect is that spiritual and elevation and the sacred self and understanding from a more spiritual aspect. However, the seventh chakra is not all full, nice and positive. When the seventh chakra is either closed or imbalanced, or there is something unhealthy in your projection of the seventh chakra can be disorienting, it can be dispersed. You know, it's like being in the clouds, right? You're not down here, you're up there in the clouds. And yes, it can be like connection with the higher self, but it can also be very dispersed and very like lost into the fantasy. Fantasy is linked to the sixth and the seventh chakra because it's a lot about the mind. The mind is right here, right? So when you're going up there, it's like building a castle in the clouds, dispersed and not finding the exact something clear and rooted and dense and important, because density means importance as well. So that's why before I was saying some people who are having a very superficial communication are often up here into their minds and communicating on this level. So they are not communicating from the seventh chakra as a seventh chakra open and clean and clear and balanced and projecting wonderfully. It's a seventh chakra communication in the most dispersed, superficial, with less heavy elements in it, less density, less gravity, let's say. Gravitas, yeah, it lacks gravitas. It's just on the surface. So that's the other side of the seventh chakra communication. You know, I'm thinking, why not? I've never done it before. Let's improvise. Let's do this. How about we can do a little diagram of what this would be like? I think it can be healthy and useful. So let's draw a little yogi. Let's see how the yogi will look today. I never know. Sometimes they look very, very thin. It's not looking bad so far. It's pretty good. All right. So here we have the 7 chakras. I'm going to go, I don't have 7 colors. Well, I have 7 colors, but they are not the 7 colors of the rainbow. So I'm going to go brown. Okay. No. I'm going to go this. Green, blue. Yeah, I'm going to go brown. Okay. Just because I don't have the violet color. Okay, never mind. So 7th chakra. The 7th chakra, and we could say these are the chakra communication. Let's see. If anybody's watching and you want to make some comments, please do so. You know, this is, if I'm just speaking here and I don't receive any feedback, this is like a big monologue. So if you want to collaborate and cooperate and bring what you know, I'm sure those of you who are listening, you know a lot about chakras. Some people know an incredible information about chakras. And this is not my specialty. I studied many things and I know a little bit about many things, but I don't know a lot into some things. So if you know something that you would like to collaborate, please bring it. And if I do a clip of this video and someday it's available in the YouTube channel, then, or you can just listen. If you're listening to the stream on the YouTube channel, you can also put it in the comments. So let's put both sides, the Dharmic and the Karmic. And the Dharmic would be what we saw in the book, yeah? You remember there's this cosmic sacred self, and you see God in them even more than you, and knowledge from what the other one understands, and you can speak so that they can understand you. All right, let's say this is the sacred self. Well, I would say it's the higher self, yeah, secret self or higher self. Communication from here, it's a spiritual communication. So whatever you are talking, even if it's a mundane topic, is going to have a spiritual component to that. There's going to be a spiritual relevance to that topic. And because we are all spirits having a human experience, when you are communicating from here, you're communicating to the spirit in the other person. Yeah. So the other person would be sitting here in front of you. Yeah, this would be the other one. So this is the communication between us. So as I'm speaking from my 7th chakra, this is the kind of projection that it's going to have, and it's elevated. And this will be the dharmic aspect. And the karmic aspect, I'm thinking, should I do it in red, all the karmics? But then, okay, I'll do it in red. And then when we come to the first chakra, which is red, it doesn't matter. We will see what happens then. That's a problem for a future Ardaas. Okay, so the dharmic would be the sacred self, the higher spiritual, the elevated. And the karmic aspect of this chakra is that we are most, when we are in it, we are most dispersed. We are in the clouds. Like building a castle in the clouds. This is so, which can be very superficial as well, yeah? Something else. You see, between the 7 and the 6, this conversation that comes from here can be very heady. There's a lot of head. Yeah. I'll put heady more into the 6, but let's do that. So one of the karmic aspects would be heady. Too much head in the conversation. But let's read what our manual, our level 2 manual says about the 6th chakra. Let us see. The 6th chakra says, command and take charge. Well, why does it say that? Because the 6th chakra is associated to the pituitary gland. And this is the gland that we associate with the command of all the other glands. So the pituitary gland is the one that gives orders to the other ones to decide how you're going to respond to a particular situation. So there is a decision that is taken in the brain, in some part of the brain, and then that signal is sent to the pituitary, and the pituitary says, okay, we have to respond that way. Okay, let me inform all the other glands. Let's say, for example, in a situation of stress, then the pituitary will say, okay, the glands who is supposed to be releasing adrenaline and so on, let's start, or cortisol, depending on the mechanism. Okay, let's start working. So that's the command center. Yeah, that's the command, the gland that is going to be commanding. So that's why communicating from here, it's about commanding and taking charge. Taking charge is also a way to take responsibility, which is something that we, in Karam Kriya, in numbers, we associate with number 6, taking responsibility. Is subtle? Well, the subtle body is between the 6 and the 7. I would say it's more towards the 7. I mean, yes, it's more subtle than other chakras, but the highest is the more subtle. So the higher you go, the more subtle it becomes. Did I put it here? Sacred or higher, it can also be subtle. But yeah, the higher you go, the more subtle it is. We could see it like this. yeah, more subtle as we go up. With the maximum, the seventh chakra would be. Now, intuitive, obviously, I mean, that's the main quality of the sixth chakra, isn't it? So intuitive. Mannered and graceful. Yes, graceful. Why? Because, you see, we associate the sixth chakra to the arc line from earlobe to earlobe. This is the light that is around the heads of saints and gurus and divine beings, yeah? So we all have this arc line, yeah? But let's say we put it very, very light, in a lot of light in the paintings of these special beings. So this light is like there is a special grace in you that you receive. So communication from the sixth chakra is like you are communicating from that grace. You see what is real and what is not. Oh, I missed one sentence. Excuse me. I should be drinking water or tea. Creative insight. Insight. So insight is like an intuitive way of the way it's saying insight like this is like, is not the sight of the two eyes, is the third eye. So this is kind of a special insight. It's more than personal. See what is real or not. So the fourth and the sixth chakra are connected. If your heart is open, you will be more intuitive. If your heart is closed, you will be less intuitive. So some things that affect the heart are affecting the third eye as well. They are very much connected. Now, the heart is the sense of truth, satya, yeah? And we feel it in the heart. That's why when we breathe in, we say sat. When we exhale, we say nam, sat nam, yeah? Connecting to the truth and the true identity. So the third eye is connected to this sense of truth because it's also this insight, this capacity to see what is not seen is what it allows me to see the truth in things. So when somebody is speaking and I go here to this point and I'm listening from here. Now, up to now I was talking about speaking from, but you can also apply this to listening from. So you can be listening from the third eye, or you can be listening from the heart, or you can be listening from the seventh chakra. That's just like another layer, right? Where you are when you speak and where you are when you listen. So if I'm from the third eye, I'm going to be hearing the truth in what the other one is saying. And you will feel whether the words spoken are true or not, but you will also hear the truth behind the words, what is behind the words. Because the third eye is like an X-ray vision. You see what is not seen, what is not regularly seen. So what is real or not, and you will speak everlasting truth, which will influence others, and it will have an impact. Whoa, so many things, right? Okay, let's copy some of these down. Command. There was intuitive. Is graceful communication. It's about insight and clarity. You see with a certain clarity what is real, what is not. Yeah, so truth. You communicate the truth and you perceive the truth in the other, and that's going to have an impact. It's like when you perceive something that you weren't seeing before. When you see something that you didn't see before, you feel, Allah, like you hit yourself here, because this is the point where you are having the impact of the truth of that, whatever you perceived is like, wow, having an impact in you. All right, so that's the dharmic expression of the communication through the sixth chakra, when we are communicating through the sixth chakra in a dharmic way. But there is also the karmic, as I mentioned. When you are too much in here, this is too much in your head, and the sixth chakra is not particularly open and clear. You're communicating through here, but through all the mess in your head. So there is a lot of thoughts. It's very heady. It's a lot about thoughts and opinions. It can give you a headache as well. it's giving me right now, I'm just feeling it, just trying to tune in to that, to communicate it, is becoming heavy up here, heavy head. So heady and heavy, yeah, in the head. So very opinionated, which is the opposite of truth, yeah? Truth is the things as they are. There's the things as they are, and then there's our opinions on that. Opinion is our own take on them, the way we see them. You see, but it's not the third eye who sees them, it's the other eyes. So I'm seeing them through my own opinions, or my own perspective, yeah? So it's heady, it's thoughts, it's opinionated, is the opposite of clarity, yeah? It's my own opinions, it's not a clarity. And this command can be very imposing as well. When you go into here and you try to command from here, but you don't have the license to communicate in that way, it can be felt very impositive. Like, impositive, did I say? Like, impositive, yeah? You're imposing your view on the other, yeah? You're wanting them to do things your way. So, like, stubborn and stubborn can be something between the 6th and the 7th chakra, yeah? I want the things done in this particular way. So you are like the, you know, the donkey which has these things that you cannot see both to the other sides. So it can be like that. Bossy, maybe. We could say it's like bossy, yeah? You're trying to impose and command your own way to do things. All right, I want to get out of here. Get out of this chakra. Let's come down to the 5th chakra. All right, let's use a light blue. How is the communication from the 5th chakra? The karmic and the dharmic. Oops, sorry. I do the karmic in red. All right, let's take a look at what the book has to say about this. It actually says very little. It's blunt, it's direct, thinks as is, creates through truth. Creates through truth. So I think what is communicating here is, it's kind of connecting to Karta Purak. If you were here, if you watched the video I have on the Mul Mantra, the 5th element of the Mul Mantra is Karta Purak. So Ek is 1, Ong 2, Kar is 3, Satanam, Sat is the truth, so that's the 4th. So when we get to the 4, we will see to the truth. We will connect to truth as again. But in the 5th is Karta Purak. And Karta Purak, it means things are the same as you tell them as you are. So whatever you say out there is very much how you are inside. And your consciousness is coherent and in balance and in harmony with your actions in the world, your creative actions out there. So you are, it's like create through truth. I understand it like, it is my truth, how I am really, that's how I'm going to be creating in the world. So the words that you say through here, they communicate your reality of who you are. So they come as, they become creative, but they are also true. They come from the essence of truth. Now we know that the essence of truth comes from before, comes from the 4th chakra. We will go into that in a moment. But it's like I'm capable of not just be true to myself, let's say, but I'm capable of communicating that truth. This is about seeing the truth. Yeah, we were talking about the 3rd eye, like seeing the truth. So when the other one is communicating and I'm listening from the 3rd eye, I can see the truth in what they are saying, and I can see the truth behind what they are saying. But when we are in the 5th chakra, it's about, am I capable of communicating that or not? Because you may be the most intelligent person in the world, you may be the most wise, you may be the most compassionate, but can you communicate that or not? You may have a lot of compassion for others and be really bad at communicating it. And then what kind of impact is that going to have? So you see, the 5th chakra because fifth chakra is communication, this is about how are you able to communicate that. So this is, I mean, this whole thing that we are doing right now, everything is about communication. But if one of the chakras is the quintessential element of communication, that's the fifth chakra. So are you able to communicate? So I'm going to write it here. So whatever you need to communicate, whatever you have to say, you just are able to get it out. And this is why in the manual it says it can be blunt and direct as is. Because from the fifth chakra is you are crossing the bridge out. Yeah, this is the bridge towards the outside world. Whatever is inside of me, if I don't say it, it's not going to go out. I mean, my body language may say things, but the moment I say the words, now they are out. So this is the bridge. So when the fifth chakra, you're communicating from here, is like you are crossing the bridge and you are just saying things. Look, this is as it is. This is what I feel. This is what I say. This is what I feel. This is what you are just communicating from here exactly the way things are. So it can be very blunt. Yeah. Particularly if it hasn't been tempered through your heart. If you just communicate just from the fifth chakra without your heart, that can be painful. Yeah, it can be hard. Now, let me do a small pause here. When we are, one of the rules, there are rules for communication. Maybe someday we can go into rules for communication, but one of the rules for communication is don't say anything that is not necessary, kind, and true. Now, necessary, kind, and true, not or true. So just because something is true, you're not necessarily going to say it. It has to be necessary. If it's not necessary, why are you going to say it? And if it's necessary, can you say it in a kind way? So if you just communicate from the fifth chakra, and you can be very sincere, so there's a truth behind, but if you are just going to get it out, then it can be perceived as very blunt. This is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's communicated. It reaches the other side, and it's creative in that way. I don't know if I have any other adjective to put here. If anybody has, you can write it in the chat or in the comments. I'm going to leave it like this for the moment. But let's say when you communicate through here, you can create a bridge to the other one. Because the 5 is the point of the bridge. Yeah, it's like the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if you are finding that your communication is not reaching the other, somehow it's getting lost through misinterpretation or misunderstanding or whatever, you may need to increase the bridge. So this bridge can be created through here. So let me put this bridge here. There's another element which is not here, which is harmonious. Because actually, blunt, it can be a virtue, but it can also be a virus, yeah? Blunt can be something that we need to, if we are trying to, we're having a meeting in the company, and everybody is not really speaking what they feel in their hearts. They are just like, oh yeah, well, yeah, we could do that. And the other one, yeah, okay, well, yes, if we, everybody's trying to be good, too good, and nobody really speaks the truth. Then sometimes it's needed that bluntness to move things forward. And some people need to hear the truth as it is. If it's necessary, I'm going to say it. And maybe it's blunt. I'm going to try to say it in a kind way. But sometimes we need that bluntness. So blunt can be a tool. It can be something dharmic. But blunt can also be something karmic, something that squashes somebody, yeah? Like a blunt weapon, yeah? We use it as a blunt weapon. So it can be hard like that. But there's another virtue of the fifth chakra. Fifth chakra is the one we use to sing and to chant and to make music. So music is about sound, and sounds can be dissonant or can be in harmony ones with the others. So the communication for the fifth chakra can be harmonious, like making music. like we are communicating, and if we are both communicating from the fifth chakra, we could be like making a song. You are talking, I'm talking, you're talking, I'm talking. And we are like creating this dance, this, not dance, but this melody together, yeah? And this harmonious melody, the two of us. And it's like a song. Let's sing together, let's sing together, right? While in the karmic version would be disharmonious, or what did I say before? Out of tune? Dissonant? And this can also mean out of tune with the other and out of tune with yourself. Like, you know who you are, but then when you communicate it, you say it to try to please the other one maybe, and you are not communicating your truth. So you are closing yourself to that truth. So that could be another way of interpreting and understanding the communication from the fifth chakra. Yeah. All right. If something else comes, we will add it here. Let's go for the next. Fourth chakra. Color. Green. Let's put it here. Fourth chakra, communication. Let's read the book. Uplifting gives compassion, mutuality, be adored, healing. You'll be very compassionate and logical and will speak the smallest truth. Okay. I actually disagree with one thing here. Logical, I think logical is something from the mind. The heart is illogical. The heart doesn't explain things. The heart just feels. And from the heart you can feel what the other one is feeling, and you can relate to the other one in a mutual sharing of experience, yeah? This is where empathy comes in. So the heart is full of empathy. You are feeling what the other one is feeling. It's not logical. I would disagree with that. I don't know why is this here. So, but let's put it like that. It's truthful. What is compassionate? Compassionate should includes empathy, includes love. I'm gonna put love because love is important enough to have its own space. It's loving, it's empathetic, it's compassionate, and through that empathy we are finding a mutual feeling. We are connecting in that way from heart to heart. Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. It's heart to heart communication. And that can be healing. I mean, when they say healing here, I think everything can be healing in some way. You know, the right blunt communication at the right time to somebody who really needs to hear it, that can be healing. Yeah, but I understand how love is one of the most beautiful feelings, and that can be very healing. So yeah, I see why it would be over there. But compassionate, loving, devotion is soft. Yeah. Very different from the bluntness of the fifth chakra. Is soft. Whisper communication, yeah? The communication of the lover, the one who is whispering. You see, whispering is, there's a lot of air. And air is in the fourth chakra. It's my lungs, so if I have to say it like this, it's gonna be softer. It's the language of the lover, yeah? The conversations that are that you have in bed at night when it's very quiet, you know, when you are in the darkness and you dare to say the things that you don't dare to say in the daylight because it's too deep, too much close to your heart, yeah? And sometimes we are scared of being so vulnerable and speak our heart. So these are the things that are said in the moments of intimacy. Oh, that's a good one, intimacy. intimacy. And yes, it's elevating. He was saying there is elevating because love always wants to elevate. This feeling, it just wants to go up, yeah? The heart wants to feel you elevated. But remember, the most elevated is the 7th chakra. So an elevated conversation would be a conversation from here, from the heart. Understanding, it's an understanding, but it's an understanding from the heart. It's not a logical understanding from the mind. Because we often attribute understanding, when we say understanding is, oh yeah, I understand, that means I understand in my head. If we are talking about a head-to-head understanding, that is up here. The understanding in the heart is like the way, Yogi Bhajan gave us 5 sutras for the Aquarian age. One of them is like, understand through compassion, or you will misunderstand the times. So the understanding that Karina is saying in the chat is exactly that kind of understanding, through compassion. Out of my understanding, I can understand. Somebody comes and they are screaming at you. Maybe your partner, they are having a tough day and they are like throwing it on you. Or your children come home and they are having a tantrum. And you are listening to them and they are saying something nasty, maybe to each other or maybe to you, and they are having this tantrum. And for a moment you go into your heart and you realize at school things happen, they cannot control them. Some kids can be very cruel. They say nasty things and it's painful and they cannot express that emotion. That's one of the things we say about emotions. You either express them or you contain them. But sometimes children don't have this very elaborate, mature way of containing emotions. And then they have been containing, but actually they have been repressing them. And they come home and they feel safe. And they feel safe at home, safe enough to feel vulnerable. If they start crying in class, in school, depending on the age, they can be shamed for that and they will be laughed at. And maybe the teacher will say, oh, come on, stop crying, which is a nasty thing to say to a child, stop crying. I wouldn't even say that as a parent, never say stop crying. It's okay, because that's negating their emotion, what they are feeling, right? So, okay, she has come home and she's having a tantrum and she's screaming. And I can hear a cry inside the scream. She's screaming right now, but I can hear a cry. And it's very quickly they will go from screaming to crying. From the heart, you understand something else. You understand that they feel safe with you at home. And that's why they are vulnerable enough that they are opening up and releasing the emotion that has been bottled up for the whole day. And that's beautiful, because if they don't release it, they're going to hold it in the subconscious. And then what we were talking on Tuesday, you remember the subconscious and the monsters in the subconscious? If in the school they have some bully or some kid has been telling things about them, now their guilt and their shame or their blame, whatever, all these games, they're going to be fed with whatever has been happening and the repressed emotions that are here. So the moment the child cries, maybe it also screams and have a tantrum and something that may seem like silly thing, but that's actually good. They are opening up, they are releasing the emotion bottled up. So, okay, they are screaming at me right now, but my truth, in my heart, the understanding that I'm having, like Karina was saying, I understand that they are feeling safe with me. And maybe, you don't need to have an argument. You don't need to tell them to stop having a tantrum. You don't need to discuss it with them even. Maybe they just need a hug. And sometimes it's as simple as that. It took me a long time to learn this. I remember the very first relationship I had, I was so young, I didn't know what women were. And I remember my girlfriend at that time having a big kind of breakdown. She was really crying and she was having a tough moment. And I didn't know what she needed. And I understood later, she just needed a hug. She didn't want anything else. She didn't want me to try to apply my logical, intellectual understanding. Because that's the thing for men. Men tend to go into the mind, into the intellectual. So the understanding that we are coming in from, this is a heart-to-heart communication. So yeah, however, if this is not open and you go into the heart and the heart is closed and the pain is accumulated, this is gonna be, I'm gonna be talking about my fears. Oh, should be red. When I communicate from here is my fears, my doubts, my insecurities. You realize this is where they are stored. Yeah? If I don't feel secure in myself, if I doubt myself, should I not? That's what the heart does. Should I not? And this is where the mind comes and tries to save the day. Yeah? You are not sure. The mind says to the heart, you are not sure. Let me speak, because I know what to say. And then, okay, the heart is, okay, and then lets the mind take over. And that's when we go up. That's why we spend so much time up here conversing. And then we're having a discussion with somebody, especially our partners, our couples. And then we become like two snakes, you see, head to head. Can we go back to the heart and relate heart to heart, right? Not go this, right? Head to head, bonk. Can we go down into the heart and communicate from here? But then, this is where my insecurities, my doubts, my fears are. This is where some of the unprocessed stuff is. So this can also be like that. And that's okay. And sometimes we need to communicate that. So it's all right, even if we are communicating this, at least we are having a communication. So sometimes it's okay to just go into this kind of communication. Sometimes it's not useful to communicate that, particularly, from a man. If the woman is having a moment of indecision and she needs stability, the woman has the quality like water and air, which is much more unstable and moving, constant movement. And the man needs this stability, and suddenly the man feels insecure. If in that moment of instability, the man starts to communicate insecurity, that's not going to help. So we need to understand also what kind of communication do we need. And this is where mastery comes in. Just knowing what kind of communication do you do, and knowing what kind of communication is required. So choosing what chakra am I going to communicate from. And at first, you may need to go slowly through this list and become familiar with that. Make sure you know clearly how it works and train yourself that you can go into those consciously, so that later it becomes more automatic and we can just call upon that part of myself without having to resort to this list and becoming artificial, because we don't want to be artificial in the communication. But I hope you can all see how this could be very important, to be aware of these different levels of communication. Should we carry on? What's the third? Third color is yellow. Third chakra. Communication. And the third chakra, let's see what it says here. To balance someone, to be willful, be unknown for all plus and minus. When you say something, it will either have a terrible sting or a terrible praise with it. Will balance someone. Let's start with balance someone. It's an unusual thing that we associate with the three, but if you look at a chair with 4 legs, they have to be absolutely perfectly equal to feel balanced. If one leg is shorter than the others, you have this chair or these tables that are moving. When you go to a restaurant and then the table has one leg which is shorter, and you are like clink, 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 you are, that's so uncomfortable, right? While when you have these chairs with 3 legs, how is that called? I want to say stool, but I feel like that word is like going to the toilet. Is that the same word? I don't know now. I'm not sure. I think it's a stool. I hope, maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong, or maybe I'm saying it wrong. But you have one of these legs, these chairs with 3 legs. Okay, I hope you understand me. And they are very, very stable when they have 3 legs. So if you want to go camping Generally, these ones that you take out in the camping, they often have 3 legs because they are more stable like that. So when you go into the third chakra, you can have a kind of stability in that sense. Actually, you know what? Stability is something that you find in the 3 chakras, the lower 3 chakras. So just like these higher chakras, they want to make the conversation more subtle and elevate. They want to elevate. The lower 3 chakras, they want to stabilize. So the more lower you go, the more stable you are, because you are coming in contact with the earth. So this is the lower triangle. This is a triangle. The lower triangle. This is the higher triangle. So the lower triangle is bringing the stability. So I can see how the third is going to help to balance, but I wouldn't call it like that necessarily, just exactly like balance. But yeah, okay. Willful. Why willful? Because the third chakra is the chakra of action. And, you know, it's like whatever you want to do, you do it from the third chakra. There's the ek onkar, that's kar. Kar is activity, is creative activity. So it's movement and activity. So let me put it like it's a conversation from the third chakra. Let me put this willful here. And there's active. Oh, I didn't put the elements, but this could be very easily included. The fourth element, this is air, so it's more airy. But the fourth one is more fiery, so this would be fiery. I put fire, well, fiery. So that's kind of a communication that has more fire. That's why it can be more willful, you know. I want to do things, I do them this way, pam. That's the fire. The fire is like an engine, yeah, that is going to be moving the conversation. So if a conversation gets stuck as well, this is another tip. You can bring a little bit of the fire from the third chakra and get it moving. And can be, fire is warm and can be very kind. Warm and kind. But fire can also burn. So now I understand better. When I read it the first time, it says it can have a terrible sting or a terrible praise with it. So sometimes we use praise as a way to warm up the other person. So that's the fire of the warmth. And the sting is the fire which burns. So it can also be burning, the third chakra. Another way of fire in the third chakra is anger. So it can be angry. Just like doubts is a negative emotion intimately linked to the fourth chakra, anger is a negative emotion intimately linked to the third chakra. And you know, this is the chakra of digestion, so it linked to eating, yeah. And so it can be like you are trying to eat someone up, eat the other one. Yeah, somebody on the other end, you may receive this like they are going to eat you up. For some reason, I just had this vision of Hitler now, yeah? And he had an incredible naval point, yeah? Very strong naval point. And I mean, you have to give him credit for what he had, yeah? He definitely had very strong chakras. Some of his communication was really, really strong. So you see, chakras can be very strong and you be in a very karmic life. So having an open chakra doesn't mean that you are having a healthy attitude. So I would see a lot of anger, a lot of, you know, eating the other one. Or you could feel it like that, like they want to eat you up. But let's move on. I don't want to stay here a minute longer in this example I just gave. Okay, I don't have orange. I'm going to use the pink. Never mind. So pink, second chakra. Let's talk about the second chakra. Let's see what the manual has to say. Seduce. I mean, of course, this is the chakra of sexuality, right? Convince, sexual, zigzag to your want and sensation. Zigzag because its second chakra is 2, Zigzag is like number 2. It's like zigzag, zigzag, zigzag is like number 2. You look at number 2, it's like a zigzag, you see? Number 2 is like a zigzag, yeah? So, stimulation. You speak from here when you are trying to control, to finish it. It's not only related to sex. The desire of the person relating from this chakra is, let's get it out. Okay, there's a number of things. You speak here when you're trying to control. Well, I wouldn't say so. I would say control is more about the fire. Yeah, let me put it here, actually. I go against the book. Well, I take responsibility for my mistakes. So if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But this is how I feel. Control, it's actually controlling. When you are trying to control is when you're setting boundaries. That's what 3 things do. You know, the 3 sides of a triangle, you are controlling something. So this is very much 3rd chakra. But maybe what it means is when it says control here, it's referring to the aspect of seducing. So when you're seducing someone, you're trying to get the other one to do what you want. So it's a kind of control, but it's more through the seduction. Should I put seduction or seducing? Seducing, okay. What was the other ones? Convince. Convince is linked to seducing, let's say sexual. So this can be flirty, yeah? This can be flirting in a way. Now I put it dharmic here, but it doesn't necessarily have to be very dharmic, this kind of communication actually. Because it can take us through let me put it flirty here. I should move the book away. It's not helping me write. Well, let's see what else does he say. It's not only related to sex. The desire of the other person relating from this chakra is, let's get it out. Yes, okay. Desire. He's talking about desire, yeah? Like 2nd chakra is all about desire, it's sexual desires. So you may be communicating in a desirable way. But that doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's dharmic communication. It's like needs and desires. I'm going to write it here, but you can, you know what? Out of the needs and desires, we can very easily go into a very complaining, needy. Yeah, one thing is to communicate your needs. Another thing is become needy. And so sometimes using the seductive aspect of the 2nd chakra to satisfy your particular needs and your emptiness inside, to fill your emptiness. And using, flirty behavior to manipulate the other one to do what you want. That's coming from this chakra, but it's quite karmic. But there's one thing that is very dharmic about this 2nd chakra, and I'm surprised it's not in the manual, but it's passionate. I find myself going a lot into the 2nd chakra. I'm passionate about the teachings, about yoga, about all these things. So very often I do try as much as I can to speak from my heart, through my heart, but I engage my navel because that's what's going to give me strength. But even deeper, there is a power. There's a power from my passion. And passionate, and you know what? Also powerful. I think powerful is starting from the 2nd chakra. We feel it often in the 3rd because that's the one that controls and burns like the fire. But the power starts from the water. Water is a very powerful element, even more than the fire. So passionate and powerful. Because passion is like sexual passion, but all the other passions are also contained there. So when you are accessing your 2nd chakra, you can bring your passion out and you become passionate about your words. So that can be very important if you want to have that kind of connection with the other one, communicate that passion to the other. It's going to make things alive. Because you know what? The 2nd chakra has the opportunity to bring a baby into the world. That's life, bringing life into the world. So why not bring life to your conversation by putting your words through that passion, yeah, bringing that passion forward. So that's what the second chakra is going to bring. Yeah, when you go down into the second chakra, you can find your own passion and communicate it. Enthusiastic, yeah, communication. That can be very powerful. Finally, we get to the first chakra. And because it's red, I'm going to do the Dharmic as red, and I'm going to do the Karmic as black. Let's do the Karmic as black. Let's see what it says. First chakra, elimination reduces to base, confuse, pervert, and attack. You see, it's quite negative, all this. You want dirt, anger, fear, and insecurity all out. Pulp dramas and gossip abound in detail. This is really bad. This is really, really karmic, okay? But okay, let's go slowly. Elimination reduces to base. So, a very base conversation, a conversation that is base and brute, being a brute, you know? A base person. This is the opposite of elevation. You see, on the other side we have the elevation. On this is like brute, and maybe even, you know, I was thinking now, insults, but insults is kind of fiery and it has a lot of anger in it. It's probably connected, but I'm thinking more than insults would be like how do you say that? Bad words? Like saying lots of cursing? Curses? Because that's very brute, very, and the language is not elaborate and subtle and graceful at all. This is totally not graceful. So cursing and bringing the, I just did this sound. Why? Because you see, this is the cave. This is the bottom of the cave. This is like how do you say that? Grumpy. Yeah, grumpy. In the cave, you can see in the cave, you can be like a guru or you can be grumpy, right? So this is the kind of cave where the monster is, you know? And so it can be very, very horrible conversation from there. The horror, the horrible. And you know, here he mentions anger. I would say anger goes more into the fire, but I can see why. Because anger and fear, this is something that triggers the survival part of the other. When you are sensing something is dangerous to you, it triggers your survival mechanism, which is linked to the first chakra. So you see, when you're communicating from the first chakra in that negative karmic way, you are actually stimulating the survival mechanism. So I would say survival in you and the other. So you are stimulating fear in the other, and the other one is going to feel like their life is in danger, kind of. Yeah, it's dangerous. So be careful with the other one. No, be careful with me. Be careful. How am I going to communicate? But even this sound has a lot of fire. Eh? So it's like the first and the third chakra are very connected to each other, which are very masculine chakras anyway. First and third are masculine, second and fourth are more feminine chakras. But yeah, both have karma and drama. So they said, you want dirt. The manual was saying, you want dirt. So yeah, dirt. Dirt is the earth in the worst, you know, the karmic aspect of the earth. So dirty conversations. But you know what? There is also a dharmic one. I believe there is a dharmic essence to the first chakra. And I would say, I don't know why it's not contemplated here, but I believe if you are in tune and your chakras are aligned and healed and healthy enough, you can tune into the first chakra and communicate this base communication. You can make a communication basic, solid, stable. That's the qualities of the first chakra, aren't they? So you can go there. It's actually not so easy to go down into the first chakra, but and I'm trying not to lower the pitch, just to go there, but being very simple. Things as they are, not elaborate, yeah? As they are, simple. Very, it can be like the person who doesn't speak at all, and then they are giving their opinion, speaking, blah, 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 and he says one thing. I have one, you know, sometimes they raise one finger, you know? Like one finger, one chakra, yeah? First chakra, and there's like, well, and then they say one thing. And that thing has an impact, and it changes everything, yeah? But it has heaviness, gravitas, that's the word I was using before, yeah? First chakra is connected to earth is connected to gravity, so this is with gravitas. So, I think it's quite clear, yeah, the description of this first chakra with gravity, with earth. Oh, earth is something with gravity, something not just heavy. Which, you know, this conversation can be very heavy, you know, these bases and curses, but heavy in the sense that something heavy is something that matters. What really matters? What has weight in the conversation? You know, what is the weight of the conversation? What is the words that have some particular weight to them? So that would be the first chakra communication. Here we have the complete diagram. Well, that's quite impressive. I wasn't expecting to do this today, but here we are. I thought we would like touch it lightly, but I have this tendency that when I start talking about something, I end up doing like what was it? 2 hours on the topic. So yeah, very complete. But if you have an idea, if you have new understandings and you want to share them, please write them in the comments. Write them in the comments of the video. And it was very interesting topic to explore. I appreciate the questions. This was from a question by Karina, who, Latika asked us in the comments of another video. That's why today I was doing this live stream talking about this topic. And this is what stimulates me. Yeah, get a question and try to explore it in depth. And I hope it was useful, and I hope you got something out of that. Any feedback is helpful. And thank you very much for being here and listening. If you listen to the 2 hours, I'm impressed. Consider me impressed. And congratulations to you. And hopefully that increases your communication, that makes your communication even better. You communicate even better, being able to channel your chakras the way that you want. And if so, then it's my honor to share this with you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Karina, for being here all the stream. I am glad I'm not speaking to the ethers, but there's somebody there listening. So thank you for your like and your comments and your participation all the time. And I'm looking forward to see you again in the next stream. Thank you, everyone, and Satnam until next time.